Hey guys, Rick Denham here. It's September, we just had some rain, and the silvers are finally shooting up the rivers. What a great time to get out on the water and get yourself a silver salmon. I got laid in front of me one of the most effective silver salmon lures in the rivers, the Dick Nites spoon. I'm going to discuss a 3-part series here talking about how to fish the Dick Nites spoons on different techniques and riggings, starting first here with off the bank. So in front of me I have a bunch of Dick Nites in some of my favorite colors, and I want to discuss here what size options you have available at Dick Nites spoons. You have the size 0 here, the small guys. This is called the wee Dick Nite. One of my favorites for the lower water conditions, but to be honest, it doesn't even have to be the low water. This wee Dick Nite works all the time, and even some monster silvers get caught on these every single year. So don't rule these things out of your arsenal when you're looking at your tackle selection. Colors wise, the wees are great in all the different colors. Dick Nites spoons comes with so many different variety to choose from holographic glitters to glow in the darks to half and halves to all sorts of things that you can choose. In front of me, I have some of my most productive here in our Puget Sound rivers. You have the 50-50 wee Dick Nite and the frog colored pattern, nickelback or frog pearl. Those are two of your main popular patterns that you'll see on the river, and a lot of the times they work. But for me, I've experimented over time to find that a few of these other color patterns also follow suit with the effectiveness. I have a brass and red, green and silver, pink and white, and the purple and pink. A lot of this has to do with color contrast, but guys, that movement that you want of that spoon in the water is just a little wobble. So your retrieve is intended to be a slow one. You're not trying to burn these and make them spin. You just want a slow wobble, and that's what Dick Nite spoons are all about. So that's the wee Dick Nite size. And you notice the size above that is going to be your size 1. And this is more of your common that you see a lot of guys throwing. But both of these sizes very effective in all sorts of different color and water conditions. So same colorations I have up above, but in the one size. 50-50 in the frog. Your other off-tone colors that I found very successful. But it all becomes down to having confidence in what you're throwing. These are going to be my main staple all the time when I'm out there on the water throwing these baits. And you look above that, you see the bigger size. Now this is the size 2. And while many intend this one to be used more for trout fishing, I really do like this one for salmon as well. It does give a little bit bigger profile, as well as different action. You have a swivel built in to the size 2 to allow and encompass what the movement does for that lure. It's a great rigging to have either one of these on your rod, and I will break it down here next on the different types of techniques that can be used with this. From the bank for me, and if I'm just thinking of casting, a lot of guys have this rigged up like a drift fishing style. And in front of me, I have a couple different ways to do this. One as a dropper rig here on my left, and one as your standard drift rig. Now, there are different ways to rig these up. You can have them set up as a fixed rig or a sliding rig. And my preference is to have the fixed, because then I always know where my lead is at in correlation to being in contact with the bottom. So that way I know the difference when a fish is hitting, as opposed to having my weight sliding around, and it just doesn't give you the greatest feel, in my opinion, as you can get. So I really like having a fixed setup, and I found a great way to do this is by getting some rolling drop swivels, and there are different companies that make all sorts of kinds, but these are very effective and not very pricey. So you pick yourself a package of these. They come in 25, And you want to then next look at your weight setup. And I have been using lead for a long time, and it does work good, but you have to realize that using lead over time allows that weight to be beat up, and it becomes, as some people would say, sticky. And I find that over time your lead, you're going to be losing a lot more. Well, of late I have found these Dave Tangle Frees, and this has really helped me to lose less lures and be fishing more often, keeping my lure in the water and giving myself a better chance to fish. These weights have a swivel built in to the weight itself, and the rubber casing that encompasses the weight itself allows for this just to be bouncing around the rocks instead of sticking into them. So very effective with just the two here. So again, I can show you Dave's Tangle Free. I got the 1/2 ounce size here. They come in a variety of sizes and work great for a lot of different water conditions. So given now that we're looking at our rigging here, our main line is going to be tied to one end of the rolling drop swivel. I have a quick change clevis here at the bottom that I can just pull my weight off, switch out sizes. Very easy and very effective to have this kind of a weight system. Then next, I'm going to be tying on my leader, and depending on what I have as my main line, I'm trying to run 2 or so pound tests less than the main. So on this one I have 8 pound tests because I have my rod rigged up with 10 pound main line. But you could have 12 pound main line and run 10 pound test leader. Either way works. So there's my rigging. I'm running about 5 feet a leader, 4 to 5 feet depending on the water clarity, to my number 1 50/50 Dick Nite. Very effective. Will catch a lot of fish. An alternative way to rig this, so this is drift fishing with a straight contact to the bottom, but you can also then look at the alternative here. So on this rig, I have a rolling drop swivel like I do on my other, and my main line would be tied onto this end. This time though, however, instead of clipping my weight to the bottom here, I actually have the weight on a dropper. Now this is running about 8 inches or so, which allows me to fish just a little bit higher off the bottom. And in more snaggier areas or bigger rock areas, this allows your spoon to be up off the bottom and right in the strike zone. So you kind of have to play around with where you're at and knowledge of the river, but both effective techniques either way. And again, I got a nickelback frog pattern here on a 5.5 foot leader of 10 pound test fluorocarbon. So you're going to be looking then to be casting to your seams and slower frog water. Dick Nite spoons really do excel in the slower water on a slow retrieve. But if you do have a little bit of current, guys, the theory that I have always found to be very successful with fishing Dick Nites is if you think you're going slow, go slower, and in terms of reeling. So very effective lure to try off the bank for your fall salmon here. So many different varieties of colors to choose from. Dick Nites, great salmon lure for off the bank. Let's go to part 2 and we can talk about fishing Dick Nites out of a boat. Alright guys, fish on.